My girlfriend's mom said I couldn't afford dinner, not knowing I could buy her entire neighborhood. I was at a fancy steakhouse waiting to meet my girlfriend's mom for the first time when my girlfriend turned to me and apologized in advance. She explained that her mom, Dolores, had been obsessed with her marrying up ever since their dad left them broke, constantly pushing her toward lawyers and surgeons like love was a business deal. She squeezed my hand, insisting she loved me, whether I was a mechanic or owned the shop. Money meant nothing to her. I thanked her, thinking about what I'd kept from her for 8 months. My grandfather left me his automotive empire of 23 dealerships, but I still worked at his original shop every morning because fixing cars gave me something money never could. Dolores arrived late and immediately wrinkled her nose at the smell of motor oil that apparently clung to me despite 3 showers. When I stood to pull out her chair, she looked me up and down, lingering on my height, and asked if all mechanics were built so small or if the job just wore them down over time. She actually reached across the table to squeeze my bicep during appetizers, frowning and mentioning that her daughter's ex, Leo, had been a college athlete who still worked out every morning before court. Throughout dinner, she kept asking if I'd at least finished high school, while explaining that Leo had graduated from Yale. She wondered aloud if working under cars all day in that position did things to a man's back, maybe affected other performances too, then laughed like she'd made a harmless joke while my girlfriend turned red. "Mom, that's enough," my girlfriend said firmly, but Dolores waved her hand dismissively and kept going, saying successful men didn't come home exhausted every night. When the check came, she asked me if I could even afford to pay and gave her card to the waiter before I could respond, adding that I reminded her of her ex-husband. Months later at my girlfriend's birthday party, things escalated beyond subtle digs when Dolores physically demonstrated the difference between men. She'd invited Leo and literally stood him next to me, pointing out to guests how he towered over me, how his hands were soft from office work, while mine were scarred and dirty even after scrubbing. She made a show of comparing our clothes, running her hand along Leo's designer suit while gesturing at my department store button-down, explaining to everyone how you could always tell a man's success by how he dressed. "Mom, stop it right now," my girlfriend tried again, but Dolores just said she'd understand when she was older and wiser. The humiliation continued when Dolores cornered me in front of everyone and asked where I lived, then announced to the room that I rented a studio apartment with roommates at 28. She explained how real men had mortgages by now, how Leo owned a 3-bedroom house, how living like a college student showed a lack of ambition and maturity. She asked if I even had my own bedroom, or if I slept on someone's couch, then turned to my girlfriend and asked if she really wanted to start a family in some cramped apartment with paper-thin walls and strangers walking around. The 4th of July barbecue was where she completely destroyed any pretense of civility. Dolores gathered everyone to watch the kids' fireworks and got loud about whether I even knew how to light sparklers safely. She grabbed them from my hands, going on about how some guys just weren't dad material. She turned to my girlfriend asking if she wanted babies crying for a real daddy while stuck with someone who jumped at firecrackers. Then she warned my girlfriend that our future kids would be the ones getting bullied while their dad stood there frozen. 3 days later, Dolores dragged me to her Lexus dealership because her car was making weird noises and she wanted to prove I couldn't diagnose it properly. While she was complaining to the service manager, an older mechanic walked by and did a double take. He called out my name asking what I was doing here. Dolores rolled her eyes, muttering about another grease monkey. The mechanic turned to the service manager and asked, "Why didn't anyone tell me the owner was visiting?" The word owner hit Dolores like a slap and she actually stopped mid-sentence, her mouth hanging open as she turned to look at me. The service manager went completely white and started typing frantically on his computer, growing panic in his eyes. Without saying a word, he slowly turned his monitor toward us and there it was, the company directory with my face at the very top, CEO, printed in bold letters with 23 locations branching down below. I watched Dolores's entire world shatter in her eyes as she looked from the screen to me and back again, her face going from confused to horrified to absolutely devastated as every single insult she'd thrown at me came flooding back. When she looked at me, she started stammering about always respecting honest work, how she was just testing me, but her voice cracked when she called me son. She got on her knees, mascara running, begging forgiveness, as if she could somehow undo the last few months if she just denied it hard enough. I suggested she wait outside while I fixed her car. At our wedding a year later, she sat in the back row and left before the reception, finally silent after months of never missing a chance to tear me down.